We're going to use some very simple shapes this week to make watermelon slices and work on some basic principles of art, such as cropping, depth, and composition. Okay, so get out your canvas. I'm working on paper today. Just because I'm trying to conserve some canvases, and also it's easier for me to move it around if it's on paper rather than on a canvas. But we're just going to draw an initial watermelon slice. It's a good day to be thinking about watermelon. So what we're going to do is start about right here on your paper or canvas, and we're going to do, it's kind of a rectangle shape, and we're just about halfway across our paper, and we're going to make sure that we cut off this last corner, okay? And we're going to do it curved. And this is what I'm talking about in terms of being cropped. So it looks like the one that is closest to us, which is the biggest one, right? Things look bigger when they're close to us. And it's down at the bottom of the paper, which also helps with a sense of depth as we start layering our others. Anyway, this looks like it is close to us, and it is cropped off a little bit. And then we're going to go up a little bit, make another dot above this one, and we're going to make the same shape. But it's going to go behind our first one. And it too is going to be cut off a little bit. So you're not going to see a whole lot of this because it is, I don't like how I did that. It doesn't really, forget that one. I'll paint over it. So it too is cut off, but not quite as much by the paper. So we're cropping it, and it's starting to look like our slices are behind each other. Okay, so then we're going to do a third one, because remember the rule that 3 is a nice way to create a composition. So it's going to appear higher on the paper. And it's also going to be cropped by both, cut off by both the first 2 slices and the edge of the paper. So there's our composition. 3 slices. Okay. Oops. Sorry, I was sitting down because I had been standing up. And I'm sitting down now, and I hit my camera. Anyway, so we're going to then follow our curve and make 2 lines. This one is going to be the rind, so that's going to be green. This is going to be that white sort of band, and then this is going to be the reds and the pinks. Okay, so we're going to do that with all 3. Just have those lines follow each other. They don't have to be perfect because, you know, patterns in nature are not necessarily perfect. All right. So that's what it should look like. Very simple shapes. Now we're going to paint using acrylics, and we're going to use bright colors, and I've talked about this before, be kind of painterly with it, which means that we are just doing loose brush strokes, okay? We're going to have fun with this. So we're going to work with our pink and red first, and believe it or not, I have run out of pink, but as you know, we can make our own by mixing. We're going to do a lot of mixing of paints today. Whoops. Okay. Mixing white and red. Looking for my white over here. I know I've got one. I don't use it very often, but maybe I've lost it. Okay, I'm going to put us on pause while I go get my white. All right, I'm back with my white. And so I want kind of a medium. We don't need to use really small brushes with this one. And I'm going to use my technique of making different puddles of colors and then mixing them in different spots. So I did find a little bit. I went scrounging around in my paint, and I did find a little. My other students have been working with acrylics as well, and so most of them are in my other, most of them, not my students, my paints, are in my other studio. But that's kind of the range of colors that we want to use. And so we're going to pull my chair up a little bit better. Now red is very, powerful. So we're going to take a little bit of red. We're going to mix it with our white. We're going to put this new color over here. And we're going to need to have some more. So we just mix up a nice red and white. And then we're going to use that as one of our bases. A nice red fruit. I'm trying to grow watermelon this year. Not sure it's going to work out. Temperatures have been too hot. So I'll have to go to the farmer's market. And you can mix up some more as you're working your way up there. With this, usually I tell you to mix enough of a special color as you need for an entire painting, right? But with this one, it's a little different because we really don't mind so much if our colors don't particularly match. Because no, watermelon, excuse me, I keep saying watercolors. Watermelons will be exactly the same, right? This paint seems rather thick, so if your paint is rather thick, just add just a little bit of water to it. You don't want to turn it into watercolors. But you do want it to spread out nicely on your canvas. I'm adding a little bit of it's looking nice and juicy. Okay, so now what I can do is I've got a slightly different color that I can start blending in. So you can use your pinks, your whites, a little bit of orange if you want, that would work. And start just kind of adding some different colors and blending them in. Try not to get too streaky with it, but just, you know, make sure that they're in the pink, red, orange, the warm color. It's okay if you get out of the lines a little bit because you're going to paint it the next one too. And then you can either add white to this, or you can add a little lighter. And just fun brush strokes. You can make the brush strokes as subtle or as bold as you want. So my final, I'm going to add just a little bit of pink, almost white, for some highlights. Okay? And then we're going to do the same thing with our next two. So I'm going to pause the video and paint, you paint, and then we'll come back and do the next layer. Okay, so we have our nice luscious looking watermelons completed, and so now we're going to work on the rind, and then I don't know what that inner white is. I guess it's the inner rind, we'll call it that. I got a clean piece of a clean palette because I had red paint everywhere. You want to make sure that your paintbrush is well cleaned out, since we're going to be starting on another color. Okay, so what we are going to be using for the rind is some various shades of green, and I'm going to put a little yellow, so we have a darker green. Again, I'm just going to put them on the plate and then we'll mix them up as we want. I've got a yellow that I'm going to use. And we'll see how that goes. So we won't be using as much paint because it is just this little strip right here, but we'll be mixing them nevertheless. Okay, so I'm going to start mixing with some of my lime green and darker green together. And again, kind of painterly with my application. Doesn't have to cover all the white. Doesn't have to be all the same shade. This paint is a little thick as well. So I'm adding just a little bit of water, so you want it to move off of your brush nicely. There we go, that looks better. Now you notice I didn't tell you to trace your lines, and it's fine if you did, but if you want to, if you didn't, you can try using black paint to make your lines, and I'll show you how to do that. See, so we can have some little variations of color there. I'm going to take some of the dark and kind of put it around I'm going to add just a little bit of yellow. Not much. I want it to be more of a yellow-green. Just a little bit of green, a little bit of yellow. And then I'm going to take some of this. And I don't want this to be just all white, right? Because it's not all white. Even in real life, it's not all white. So I want to put a little bit of color in places on that. Again, just probably got a little too heavy over here. We'll see what I can do to fix that. I'll put some water on it, take a Kleenex. Ah, perfect. See? You really can't make a mistake with paint. We'll get the same effect over here. That might have dried a little bit too much, but there we go. Okay, so we'll do the same thing. We'll mix the greens together. This little area right here. And then we have a little area right here as well. Some water on it and blotch. really like the colors on here. Nice and bright and cheerful. Exactly what we need for these times. All right, now we're going to let our watermelons dry and we're going to work on the background. And so we want to use some blues for that. We're going to use cool colors. And let me see what color I've got. You can use whatever colors of blue we want. It's just something that will make a nice contrast. Two blues. Maybe I'll put out just a little bit of purple. That might be kind of interesting. Cool colors. So I'm going to, again, kind of make it sort of painterly. Oops, that was a little too painterly. If you have some of that cool aqua color, that would look good on here. You can let some white show through, that's fine. Just kind of have your brush strokes go every which way. That makes it kind of cool. Okay, so now I'm going to mix a little bit of the darker blue with this so that we can get some different colors going here. We're dry brushing just a little bit. Some of the lighter blue over the top to sort of, we don't want it to look, we want it to look blended, not blotchy, right? add some more of our darker color over here. Okay, so now we can move this down a little bit. The rest of the painting, we really don't have that much background to cover. Mix up a little bit more of our darker color. Okay, and now we just have these little bitty pieces right up here. I don't have too much to work with, but we'll put a little bit of dark. Okay, so take a look at your background, go back over it if you've got any places that you're not particularly fond of. Like, I don't really like this little, oh, I know what that was. I ripped my paper a little bit. Up in that corner. Okay, so by this time, your watermelon should be dry. And so if you would like to, when it's dry, you can either go over it with your black marker, or you can, I'm looking for a round brush that's smaller. I'm just knocking stuff over like crazy here. Or you can take your black paint and you want this to be fairly watery so that it's kind of running off like ink. So this is really thick paint, so we're gonna have to, there you go, and you can practice a little bit. So what you can do is you can go over your lines to make them show up. You don't have to be straight lines. You can, again, the whole thing is kind of painterly, so it can be loose. And kind of have fun with it. Okay, and then I'm going to make some seeds, right? You can make them look like little comma marks, or don't want to do a whole lot of them, but you can do a few, kind of randomly. You have too much paint on your round brush, just clean it off. Okay, turn this upside down. So if you want, I mean, like I did, if you already traced with your marker, you can just paint over it. And there we have it. Very cool. Nice bright painting for a summer day. Thank you.